Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pari Rajakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pari Rajakacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Srila Satyanandana Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jaya Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunatha Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Ananta Goda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Gurunath Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. ISKCON Vartma Guru Vrinda Ki Jai. Sama Beta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Agora Pramanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru, Sri Guranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayana Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Tito Jayam Yuridayat Nasta Preshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances under the personality of Godhead Narayan, under Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, under Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and under Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service under the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Today is Saturday, June 1st, 2024. And we're reading Canto 4, Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 22, Prithvi Maharaj's Meeting with the Four Kumaras, and we'll be doing verse 47. Yari Drishi Bhagavato Katiratma Vada.
Yari Drishi Bhagavato Katiratma Vada.
Ekantato Nigamabi Pratipaditana. Tushtan Pada Prakaruna Svapritena Nityam. Konamatat Pratikaroti Venoda Patram.
Konamatat Pratikaroti Venoda Patram.
Yari Drishi Bhagavato Katiratma Vada.
Yari Drishi Bhagavato Katiratma Vada.
Ekantato Nigamavi Pratipaditana.
Ekantato Nigamavi Pratipaditana.
Dusyantada Prakaruna Svakritena Nityam. Konamatat Pratikaroti Venoda Patram. Yari Drishi Bhagavato Katiratma Vada.
Yari Drishi Bhagavato Katiratma Vada.
Ekantato Nigamavi Pratipaditana.
Ekantato Nigamavi Pratipaditana.
Dusyantvada Prakaruna Svakritena Nityam. Konamatat Pratikaroti Venoda Patram. Okay, please chant.
Yeri Trisi Bhagavato Gatiratma Vada.
Yari Drishi Bhagavato Gatiratma Vada.
Ekantato Nigamivi Pratipaditana.
Ekantato Nigamivi Pratipaditana.
Tusyanta Tapra Karuna Sokritena Nityam.
Tusyanta Tapra Karuna Svakritena Nityam.
Konamatat Pratikaroti Vinoda Patram.
Konamatat Pratikaroti Vinoda Patram.
Yaridrasi Bhagavato Gatiratmavada.
Yaridrishi Bhagavato Gatiratmavada.
Ekantato Nigabhi Pratipaditanaha.
Ekantato Nigamahi Pratipaditana.
Tusyantva Prakruna Swakritena Nityam.
Tusyantava Karuna Svakritena Nityam.
Konamatat Prakritikoti Vinoda Patram.
Om Namata Pratikaroti Vinoda Patram. Anyone else want to try?
Dari Risi Vidavaro Kakita Atmavara.
Yari Drishi Bhagavato Gatiratmavada.
Ikantato Nigamipi Pratiparatana.
Ekantato Nigamihi Pratipaditana.
Syantaradva Karunasa Kritani Nityanam.
Tusyantavadabra Karuna Svakritena Nityam.
Namatra Pratikaroti Vinora Patram.
Konamata Pratikaroti Vinoda Patram. Very good. Anyone else? Hmm? Okay, we're going to do word for word. And our remote guy ran away. Yai, by those. Idrishi, such kind of. Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Katihi, progress. Atmavade, spiritual consideration. Ekantata, incomplete understanding. Nigamibihi, by Vedic evidences. Pratipadita, conclusively established. Na, unto us. Tushyantu, be satisfied. Adabra, unlimited. Karuna, mercy. Svakritena, by your own activity. Nityam, eternal. Ka, who. Nama, no one. Tat, that. Prati karoti, counteracts. Hina, without. Udapatram, offering water in cupped hands. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prithvi Maharaj continued, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence, be repaid except by folded palms containing water for their satisfaction? Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. Please repeat. Prithu Maharaj continued. How can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence, be repaid except by folded palms, containing water for their satisfaction. Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. Purport. Great personalities of the material world are very eager to render welfare service to human society, but actually no one can render better service than one who distributes the knowledge of spiritual realization in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All living entities are within the clutches of their illusory energy. Forgetting their real identity, they hover in material existence, transmigrating from one body to another in search of a peaceful life. Since these living entities have very little knowledge of self-realization, they are not getting any relief, although they are very anxious to attain peace of mind and some substantial happiness. Saintly persons like the Kumaras, Narada, Prahlad, Janaka, Sukadev, Goswami, and Kapiladev, as well as the followers of such authorities of the Vaishnava Acharyas and their servants, can render a valuable service to humanity by disseminating knowledge of the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. Such knowledge is the perfect benediction for humanity. Knowledge of Krishna is such a great gift that it is impossible to repay the benefactor. Therefore, Prithvi Maharaj requested the Kumaras be satisfied by their own benevolent activities in delivering souls from the clutches of Maya. The king saw that there was no other way to satisfy them for their exalted activities. The word Vinodapatram can be divided into two words, Vina and Udapatram, or can be understood as one word, Vinodapatram, which means joker. A joker's activities simply arouse laughter, and a person who tries to repay the spiritual master or teacher of the transcendental message of Krishna becomes a laughingstock, just like a joker, because it is not possible to repay such a debt. The best friend and benefactor of all people is one who awakens humanity to its original Krishna consciousness. Om Jnanatamardasa Jnanajana Shalakaya Chaksharam Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Rakanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Savadetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishkamcha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Chakapate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishibhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kopa Dhruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Okay, the verse again is, let's see. Yari Drishi Bhagavato Katiratma Vadha Ekam Tato Niyamabi Pratipaditana Jushant Vadavra Karuna Svakritena Nityam Kona Matat Pratikaroti Vinoda Patram. Prithvi Maharaj continued, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence, be repaid except by folded palms containing water for their satisfaction? Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy. Okay. So this is something we see a lot all throughout human history. People, great people in our societies are trying to fix our society, right? They're trying to fix or help our society. And this has been going on for, pretty much all of history, probably. I don't know. And so people are trying to fix the environment, right? This is really important right now. People are really concerned about this. They're concerned about climate change, right? And the polar ice caps are melting. Species are becoming extinct. And so people are trying to find ways to counteract this, the big thing a few years ago was carbon credits, right? These businesses are saying like, oh, use my business because don't worry, even though you don't have to change any of your behavior, you can just buy all the things you want. We're going to offset this by doing something good for the environment, right? That's been going on for at least 10, maybe 20 years now. And what's been found out is that these companies aren't holding up their end of the bargain. So nobody's changing their behavior, right? The companies we're not changing our behaviors. But people are very concerned. They're trying to do this. Healthcare, this is a huge concern for people, right? It's healthcare, especially in this country. There's healthcare is very expensive. And so this is something that people are really, every election season, they're talking about this, right? Every single election season, they're talking about, oh, I'm going to get your health care, we're going to have single payer health care, or the other side saying, no, don't worry, we're going to have private health care. We will not have single payer health care. Whatever your stance is, this is something people are really concerned about every election season. But is there any actual tangible progress being made? Not really. Civil rights, this has been going on for a very long time. There's always been marginalized groups of people that other groups of people are trying to help them have more equal rights with everybody, right? But we've made some incremental improvements, but we're still fighting, right? We're still fighting. If we were able to have an effective change, we wouldn't still be fighting on this. People have been fighting for hundreds or thousands of years for the same issues, right? Same with so like racism, sexism, right now it's about sexual orientation, people are fighting for their rights. But this is not anything new. This is something that's been going on forever. So we have so many philanthropists that are working for these various issues. So I was just curious, what are some of the top philanthropists? So apparently, the very top philanthropist is somebody that they're no longer alive, but adjusted for inflation, they donated $102.4 billion. And their name was Jamsetji Tata. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And so they're the places they donated to, the categories they donated to was education and healthcare. Then we have Bill Gates, $79 billion. Healthcare, extreme poverty, education, access to information technology. We have Warren Buffett, $32.1 billion. Healthcare, education, AIDS prevention, sanitation. Now this list goes on and on and on. Okay. So why are people so keen on this? Why are people like, oh, I really want to fix all these issues? What are they trying to achieve? Does anybody know? Anyone want to hazard a guess what people are trying to achieve? Sense enjoyment, Labunga? Freedom from death, okay. Anyone else? Okay, so all of these people, it seems they're trying to achieve some kind of peace, right? Some kind of peace and tranquility, either within personally or within the society, right? And are they doing that? I mean, because let's see, all of these issues, $102 billion, education and healthcare. Bill Gates, $79 billion, healthcare, extreme poverty, education, access to information technology. So many people spending billions of dollars. And are these all still issues that are talked about today, right? They're all considered still problems. Healthcare, education, poverty, disease, all of these things, right? So really, yes, we might make incremental improvements here and there, But it's more like we're running on a treadmill. We're just kind of trying to fix things as they pop up, and we're not really getting anywhere. And that's because people, they're trying to achieve this peace and tranquility, but they're not going about it in the right way. So Bhagavad Gita 12, 18, and 19 says, one who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equiposed in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. So that sounds like someone that would be pretty peaceful, right? And a little bit from that purport, which is pretty good. A devotee is always free from all bad association. Sometimes one is praised and sometimes one is defamed. That is the nature of human society. But a devotee is always transcendental to artificial fame and infamy, distress or happiness. He is very patient. He does not speak of anything but the topics about Krishna, and therefore he is called silent. Silent does not mean one should not speak. Silent means one should not speak nonsense. One should only speak of essentials. And the most essential speech for the devotees is to speak for the sake of the Supreme Lord. A devotee is happy in all conditions. Sometimes he may get very palatable foodstuffs, sometimes not, but he is satisfied. Nor does he care for any residential facility. He may sometimes live underneath a tree. He may sometimes live in a palatial building. He is attracted to neither. He is called fixed because he is fixed in his determination and knowledge. So that sounds pretty peaceful. If we could be satisfied in all those conditions, I don't think I would be feeling, very agitated. I mean, that's kind of describes what a peaceful person is. So Bhagavad Gita 2:15 says, O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Again, that really describes what a peaceful person is. So how do we achieve that, right? How can people become peaceful? So Bhagavad Gita 5:29 says, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entity, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So there you have it, right? Krishna's telling us that if everybody can remember that everything comes from him, everything goes to him, right? Instead of trying to satisfy our own selves, we try to really realize that everything belongs to Krishna and everything we do should go back to Krishna as offering. So this is why people are not peaceful, because people have forgotten their identity and their relationship with Krishna. And so the purport says that people are hovering in material existence. And I really liked that sentence. It just kind of gave me this image of people just sort of hovering. And when you're hovering, what are you doing? You're not really going anywhere. You're just kind of staying in place, right? And so you're just kind of going over and over, doing the same things. And this is what's happening. People are just hovering in this material existence, thinking they can make some changes to make their lives better, to make their neighbors' lives better. But in reality, they're not getting very far because they're forgetting their relationship with Krishna. They're forgetting that everything belongs to Krishna and that everything needs to be offered back to him. And despite all of this philanthropic activity, there's no relief, there's no peace. If there was, we wouldn't still be doing it, right? Because we would just say, okay, we're gonna solve education, and then it'd be solved, and we wouldn't have to keep talking about it. But still, all the time, we're talking about the same topics, decade after decade after decade. So true philanthropy is teaching others about their identity and their true relationship with Krishna. So all this other philanthropy is kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. So, you're walking with your friend, and God forbid, a car drives by, they get shot, and you're just like, oh, here, let me put this Band-Aid on it. Well, That's ridiculous. Nobody would do that, right? They're hemorrhaging, and you're giving them a pillow and saying, "Oh, let's make you more comfortable as you bleed out," right? And so that's kind of what we're doing with all this other philanthropy. I'm not trying to say like, oh, we should, stand by and look the other way when people are being subjugated and mistreated. We certainly should be paying attention to that stuff and taking steps to remedy those things. But the real goal we have to remember is to teach people about their relationship with Krishna. And that's what's truly going to stem the bleeding, right? Your friend's hemorrhaging and you're just giving them a Band-Aid and a pillow. No, you need to stop the bleeding, right? You need to go maybe apply some pressure to the wound, take them to someone who knows how to fix that, right? Well, the same thing with this material existence. We're all hemorrhaging, right? And so we got to put pressure on that wound, and we can do that by chanting, by reading, by eating prasadam, by offering all of our food to Krishna. And then we go to someone who knows how to stop that bleeding, right? We go to instead of going to a doctor, though, we go to a spiritual master, right? Or we read Srila Prabhupada's books. And so that's what we need to do. And then we have to grab the person next to us who is also hemorrhaging and show them how to do that. So, so someone finally explains how to stop hovering in material existence and how to become self-realized, which, is by dedicating our lives to serve Krishna. And then the spiritual master amazingly takes our karma and then passes that karma up the parampara. I mean, that's amazing. How can we ever possibly repay that? We can't, right? That's pretty impossible to repay that. So what can we do? So one of the things that we can do is pay it forward. Now, I don't know, some of you might remember, like, I think in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, there was a movie called Pay It Forward. You remember that, Lamonga? I knew you would. And so that movie was a fairly popular movie. And it was about a little boy, and he was given a class project where they had to make a difference in the world. And so he sat and thought about how am I going to make a difference in the world? And so, many of his classmates, they started recycling programs or they cleaned up the beach a little bit or, stuff like that. But he came up with this idea that he was going to do something for 3 people. He was going to do something that they couldn't do for themselves, and it had to be something big. And he had to, I forget the exact 2 other things, that there was like 3 stipulations about it, but he had to do something big for them that they couldn't do for themselves. And then once he did that for them, then they had to pay it forward to 3 other people, right? They couldn't repay him. And so he ended up, one guy, there was a homeless guy. He give him some food, let him get a shower, helped him get a job. And that homeless guy ended up paying it forward. He's walking across a bridge and he saw somebody that was about to jump off the bridge and commit suicide. And that homeless man stopped him and talked to him and was very kind to him. And that was one way he paid it forward. And the little boy, he ended up being really sad because he thought, oh, my plan didn't work. People, they're not paying it forward, or he only paid it forward to 1 person, not so many people. But it ended up becoming this big trend, because people were paying it forward. And so that's what we need to do. We need to pay it forward because we can't possibly return the favor to Srila Prabhupada or to our spiritual master. We can't possibly do that, or to any of the acharyas in our life. The only thing we can do is pay it forward. So Bhagavad Gita 18:68 and 69 says, for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. And there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So there's Krishna guaranteeing, giving a guarantee. And this is not a guarantee from the car dealership or a guarantee from the guy selling those stupid ShamWow towels, whatever. I don't know if you guys remember those. You had one? Were they good?
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays, yeah. Yeah. Did he do OxyClean too?
He was OxyClean.
Yeah,
He
okay.
did a lot of stuff.
Well, it's not a guarantee from him. This is a guarantee from Krishna, from God himself, okay, who I trust just a little bit more than Billy Mays. And he's guaranteeing that for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me. I mean, how amazing is that? It's a guarantee from God himself, from Krishna himself. So it's sometimes in 12-step meetings, they have a lot of like catchphrases, right? It's very catchy, because I think people that have been involved in serious addiction, maybe they don't have the greatest memory span. They don't have the greatest ability to remember large group things of information, but they can latch onto a catchphrase. And one catchphrase that I always really loved was, "We can only keep what we have by giving it away." And so we only keep the most important things in life, like faith, joy, recovery, and peace, by sharing with those around us. If we selfishly refuse to share faith and recovery, we diminish them. As in all things, we must daily abandon self, love God, and love others. And so that's an amazing sentiment, that it actually benefits us as well. Not only do we have that guarantee from Krishna himself, but it benefits our own well-being to share those things that we have, because we can only keep that stuff by giving it away. So Srila Prabhupada said in Hamburg in 1969, he said, "Don't be satisfied that you have understood that's all. No, this should be distributed. Just like in my old age, I have come to your country carrying the order of my spiritual master to distribute it. You are all young boys and girls. Take this message and distribute it. The whole suffering humanity will be happy. That is our mission." So there we have Srila Prabhupada telling us that the whole suffering humanity will be happy if we can just share this with everybody, right? I mean, between Srila Prabhupada saying that and Krishna giving that guarantee, there's really no reason that we can't share this with others. And Srila Prabhupada has said so many times, just share whatever you've learned from me, just repeat it, just share it with somebody else, just repeat it. And so I want to ask you guys, when is a time in your life where you've paid it forward, and how did that make you feel? And so I can give an example. They're pretty small examples, but one is when Gauranga Prem Prabhu was first coming around. At some point, I had gotten some. I know those of you that know me know I have like a lot of deities, and I used to have more. I just had a whole bunch, and it just got too many. I just had too many. I just kept getting more and more, and my room is very small. I can't put them all in there. I could, but then I wouldn't be able to be in there also. So, and so when I got some new ones, I had some of the resin deities, and I gave them to Gauranga Prem. I don't know why. I just had a feeling that he would take good care of them, And now I see he does take good care of them. Now he's initiated, and he's taking nice care of his deities. And in fact, when I went out of town, I had him take care of my deities. Or no, I didn't go out of town. Joe was working on my altar broke. And I had him actually babysit my deities, take care of them, because I knew he would do a good job. And so that just made me feel amazing to know that not only was I able to give him something to help further his relationship with Krishna, but that he was doing so nicely at it, And then the same thing, apparently I'm telling you, I had a lot of deities, okay? So then this other girl, Kaylee, I don't know if you guys remember her, but she came around for a brief time. And she didn't have any deities, and I had this little stone Krishna and a cow, and I gave it to her because she was saying she wanted to get a deity, and so I gave her the stone Krishna and a cow. It was really beautiful, and I actually forgot that I gave it to her. She's been gone for so many months now, and just a few nights ago, I decided I was going to text her and say, you know, how are you doing? You know, what have you been up to? And it turns out she's actually coming to visit us very soon. But she sent me a few pictures of some temples she'd been to, and then she sent me a picture of her little altar, and there was that little stone Krishna and the cow on her altar, and I was just, wow, that just made me feel so great that she was taking care of him, and that he was, you know, she had him on her altar, and also I had forgotten about that too, so it was sort of like an extra surprise, you know. So I was just wondering if any of you had an experience where you've paid it forward, and how did that make you feel? Yes, Lavunga.
So I remember maybe about 7 years ago or something like that. You took GBC college, so you saw Kameshi there. And I was remembering when she came to Florida from Columbia and didn't speak any English at all whatsoever, except for yes, no, good, bad. And most people, you know, when they come from another country to join ISKCON, sometimes they can just find their own little group and not really learn English beyond a basic conversational level. And so, but I remember, like, I would go and I would talk to her. Sometimes I would try to translate the classes for her, and she saw my books on my shelf, and I had these kids' books of like Krishna. And so I gave them to her. And then she left. And I was thinking, oh, you know, I'm probably not going to see her again. Her visa was up or whatever. And then later she like came back, and her English was so good. And then like she took the books and she used them to like learn English. And then now, you know, she eventually became ashram leader. She took Bhakti Shastri. Now she's doing GBC college. So it was just like, it was so amazing that like I remembered those days when I was like trying to help her with her English, and now she's like, you know, flourishing, and it just made me like really happy, you know, to take the time to like help somebody, and you see they use that to thrive in their devotional service.
Yeah, that's a great example. And you know, she's such an amazing devotee. I'm so fortunate to have her association, which I might not have realized if you hadn't helped her with her English. So very nice. Does anybody else have any times they can think of where, yeah, Todd?
I have this is kind of it's not really in relation to Krishna consciousness, but it's more or less just an example of me. I'm paying it forward. About 2 years ago, when I had my apartment, I was working at Olive Garden at the time, and it was my first time getting my own apartment. I was walking around after work, got to the house, and I came in touch with the mailman that was en route at my location at the time, and me and him were just briefly talking. What caught my attention, what made me stop and even talk to him, was I realized that he had 6 tongue piercings, and while he was talking to me, and that caught me off guard. I'm like, did that hurt? And we just started conversating and stuff like that, and we had similar interest, and I got his number, he got my number, and next day at work, he texted me, and he's like, hey Todd, I really didn't want to ask you this at first, but I'm really needing a place to stay because I'm about to become supervisor, but I'm moving out of my house. he needed a place to stay in order for him to become supervisor at work or whatever. And I was kind of hesitant because I just got the apartment. I really didn't want to, and I told him I don't know if that's the right idea. And then he was kind of adamant on asking me over and over, please, I'm not a bad person. So
Sri, go anytime.
So long story short, I let him in the house. It was about a month, and because of me letting him into the house, he was able to keep his job. He was promoted as a supervisor for the United States Postal Service, and now he has his own house.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Is anybody else? Oh, yes, Gangamanchi Prabhu.
Exactly. I can't afford a story, but I was just wondering if you could maybe unpack a little bit the idea that the only way we can possess something is to give it away, because it seems counterintuitive.
Yeah.
And the things that we're talking about, they seem to be more like character trait, loyalty, love, whatever, honesty, forgiveness. So what is it that Krishna is pleased with our attitude, so he imbues us with because again, it seems counterintuitive. How can you possess something that you give away? So I thought just maybe to unpack it a little bit. What does that really mean, on a rational level? Because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so
Giving something away, you have it,
So I think if you think about love, right? If you freely give your love to say your children or to your neighbor, then that kind of in a way like multiplies that love, and then that neighbor is able to either show that love back or show it to their neighbor, and so yeah, the same with, so I'll use the example of that's used all the time in 12-step meetings is that by helping others, we're helping ourselves. We're reinforcing that knowledge that we have gained, that we're giving to others. We're reinforcing that. They say the best way to learn something is to teach it, right? And so in that way, when we're sharing that with others, we're reinforcing our own learning, and our own understanding of what we're sharing, whether that be love or faith or, how to stay clean off of intoxication or how to become self-realized. We're reinforcing that knowledge and kind of cementing it within in our psyche. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was thinking in terms of how we explain it to people.
Sure.
I can completely accept it.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah,
It's more like we're sharing something rather than giving it away. We're realizing something of more significance than just holding on to something.
Yeah.
You have some deeper realization, and it must be from Krishna. That Krishna in the heart is reciprocating with that attitude of being of service to others. So it's sort of Krishna giving you, in that sense, you're really getting the real thing because it's being revealed. The substantial thing is being revealed in the heart. And thank you. That was nice.
Yeah, and of course, I don't think it necessarily applies to if I give my phone away, I'm not going to get more phones, and that would be really dumb to do. So, okay, okay, yes,
Well, in one sense, when you give something, when you give selflessly, it always does come back in a greater quantity. So, in that sense, when you love something, you give it away, it does come back because that's showing your actual love for it or such a person because you're being selfless Like if you love a person and you try to control them, that's not love, that's
Right.
lust. Whereas if you really love a person, you let them, exercise their own free will. And that's because that's Krishna, right? Krishna loves us more than anything, but he lets us be completely free because he loves us, because he's not trying to force us. And the other side of things, when you have something and you love it, you don't really love it unless you give it away, because it's in giving it that you recognize its value and that you also are realizing how good it is. Otherwise, you're just trying to hold it, maintain it. And that's, like you see that with, individuals who have immense amounts of Krishna consciousness. They're not simply trying to show off their learning and their ability and their empowerment. They're empowering others. And in that empowerment of others, they become more empowered. But I was just thinking in terms of paying it forward, and I think book distribution is the quintessential form of that in one sense, because you get a book, or just like I always think of this example, like, Parameshwar Prabhu's almost distributed 1 million books. And he's the greatest book distributor ISKCON ever had. And, but he became a devotee from taking Govinda's prasadam. So, someone gave Mother Sundamani and Dasarath a book. They became devotees. They started this restaurant. And Parameshwar Prabhu ate at the restaurant. He's made so many people devotees, of which I know many people who have become devotees from Parameshwar's book distribution. And they in turn have now become book distributors and have made people devotees.
Yeah.
So, and Srila Prabhupada, obviously created our good fortune. And that's why we, I like what it says that, that such a soul is only satisfied by their service. And that's kind of what Krishna told the gopis also, like I can't even repay you, because love can't be repaid, because it's love. You can't actually, there's nothing that can equal it. So you have to just be satisfied by your service.
Yeah, I was going to use that example too. Of Srila Prabhupada. He came, he was just one man. He came to pay forward what his spiritual master told him and taught him, and he did. And he then taught Mother Sundamani, and then Mother Sundamani is teaching all of us, and then hopefully we will go on to teach others. And it just kind of is this exponential growth. And there was a shampoo commercial, I think it was in the 70s, which is before my time, but I've seen it a bunch anyway. And it said, and they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. And so, about the shampoo, of course, if we tell 2 friends about Krishna, that's so much greater than telling people about shampoo. But the concept still works the same. It's just this exponential growth. And then, as far as the, keep what we have by giving it away, I was thinking in terms of like, say if you go to get, I know we don't drink coffee, but say you go to get a donut or something in the morning, and you are very nice to the cashier, and you smile and say good morning, and you're in a jovial mood. Well, then that cashier, for their next customer might also be in a jovial mood to their next customer, and then that person might be in a happy mood when they get on the bus to the bus driver, and that kind of just keeps going. But alternately, if you go to get your donut and you just like throw your money on the counter and you are just really mean to the cashier, well, then the cashier might be kind of grumpy to the next customer, and then that customer might be kind of grumpy to the bus driver, and so on and so on and so you can keep your bad mood too by giving your bad mood away. But we don't want to do that, right? So is there any other comments or questions? Or no? All right, I think we'll end there. So just remember to try to pay it forward, pay what Srila Prabhupada has given us forward. So All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Yeah.